For men, what is it like being a man? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. If being a woman is having everyone sticking their nose into what you are doing, how you look, if you are smiling enough, how you dress, what you do with your body, etc., then being a man is the opposite of that. No one gives a fudge about you. Story 2. I'm just a boy in a man's body. Story 3. I can pee in more places. Story 4. Some days shoot, some days not so much shoot. Story 5. If you aren't a beast of burden, then you're the burden. At least that's how it feels. Also, my wants get relegated after everyone else's for some reason, and I better not meanie about it. I swear my wife will wait till I have a day off and then force me to come with her for stuff she could have done alone in an hour at any time. One time I had a session with a psychiatrist, and I needed to bring my wife and my mother. Every time I was asked a question, my wife and my mother responded for me. How are you doing, wife? He's been fine. What do you want, mother? He's very minimalistic. I'd say he's happy enough. At some point, the psychiatrist had to say, you know I'm asking Shalan 91, right? Why do you both answer for him? I'm only a good man when I'm useful. When I'm not useful, I don't deserve anything. At least I have a great relationship with my son. Answer. Men are basically disposable, and I don't pay much attention to people who criticize men. They'll let me know when they need something, usually money. I try to be cordial, but pretty much walk away and don't share much since they don't really care. I don't take too many people seriously either. The world mostly isn't interested in other people's problems. You have to be your own man. Lucky I married a quality gal, because most women aren't worth dating. I own my own business and do well. Employers will mostly grind you into dust, so will never be an employee again. Story 6. You aren't allowed to have a bad day, and if you do, you better keep it to yourself. Answer. I made the mistake of trying to open up to a female friend about feeling lonely and trying to pull myself together more, and think it just made it worse. She listened and gave some decent advice in the moment, but has not said a word back to me since. Just the same old shoot even in my 30s as it's always been. You get told to open up more, assured they won't look at you any different, but it's the same result every time. Instead of them wondering if you're a weak loser, all it does is confirm it, and they never look at you the same again. Every fucking time. Story 7. You get really good at opening jars. Story 8. Great if you can fulfill the society's expectations about your masculinity. Terrible if you fail. Nothing in between. Answer. What's worse is that society can't make up its fucking mind about what masculinity should be. They need you to be strong, fearless, work hard, break your body, be assertive, provide. You can't be a pushover. You gotta fight for your life. But then they tell you that you have to be docile. You have to be real with your feelings. You need to be feminine in order to be a real man. You have to be submissive and calm. Women want you to open up, to be vulnerable, but a vulnerable man will be dropped by a woman for a closed-off brute. You need to be career-focused, but you can't love your work. The contradictions of male expectation go on and on. Story 9. Well, each gender has its pros and cons. But for me, the hardest part is having women think that all men are the same. And oftentimes they will spend all their time trying to confirm that belief rather than see each man as an individual person with his unique characteristics. Answer. There's even an internet thing about how we can't even say anything like this. We're told that it's okay for us to be in touch with our emotions, that it's okay to share our feelings and be vulnerable. But then when a man says that not all men are bad, we get slammed. Yes, of course, we're aware that misogyny is a major thing. We know that women are objectified, harassed, and much, much worse. And we dislike it. We want things to change. We don't want to hurt women. But when one of us says that we're different and we get attacked over it, over 75 of suicides are men. Just saying. Story 10. A 40-year-old guy behaves differently than a 16-year-old guy, but a group of 40-year-old guys behave the same as a group of 16-year-old guys. The only difference is more money and back pain. Story 11. Personally, I'm more and more discovering that the only way to have a good life as a man is to abandon most of what a society defines as being a man. The enforced stoicism, lack of vulnerability, having to exist in any incredibly isolating, emotionally restricted way. A huge part of societally defined masculinity is a miserable, restrictive cage. It's not easy to break out of that mold due to internalized and externalized prejudices, But personally speaking, I see no other way. To live as I'm supposed to would be to live in quiet desperation. Story 12. Not only are you supposed to have 99 male friends, but you're also expected to fight a gorilla. Story 13. My fiancée, GF of 3 years, just told me over the phone that she hasn't been attracted to me for months and isn't sure if she wants to be with me still. But in the same breath, swore up and down that it's not me that have been good to her and that I've done nothing but try to help her and been there for her. But she doesn't know how to make herself be attracted to me in any way. That's what it's like to be a man. I thought I found the one. She was just asking me when I was going to give her a baby and start our family 2 days ago. Now I'm going to have to move back into my dad's house at 23 and start completely over. Not even thinking about giving up my house and all the animals we have together. Answer. Think of it like this, bro. You're better off finding out now than to let another 23 years pass and find out then. Because that happens a lot. Take care of your animals and of yourself. And also take care of your house. You're in a unique position at such a young age because now you can focus on things around you that matter. Self, animals, home. Without having to care for another individual that clearly won't reciprocate the love and attention you need. Remember that we're prizes too, and that not everyone deserves our time and effort. Story 14. Being a man, you learn to be okay with no one asking if you're okay. Story 15. It's like being valued only by what you can provide to others, otherwise invisible. Story 16. As a gay man, I really empathize with straight men in a number of ways. As a straight man, you can be ostracized for wearing certain jewelry, clothing, doing certain activities, enjoying certain music, etc. Showing your emotions and opening up is viewed as weakness. Expressing your admiration for a woman can be viewed as creepy. Honestly, what a load of bullshit. I can wear a pink tank top flying around on my rollerblades listening to Britney Spears without a care in the world because I don't have to hold up some ultra-masculine image, even though I'm quite strong and manly. A straight guy gets a fruity cocktail and suddenly he's weak. PSA to all straight guys. Every once in a while, have the courage to pop into a gay bar just for a drink and unbutton that top button. Guys will compliment you, hit on you, and buy you drinks as it should be. Wherever you're at, you're doing great and we appreciate you. Rock the fudge on. Story 17. As a man, there's at least 2 aspects of being a man, me as a man and others as men. For me, being a man seems to be about navigating situations where men are expected to perform well. For example, I'm married and my wife wants me to be the handyman. After all, her dad is an excellent handyman and his father was a freaking carpenter, but I don't want to be a handyman. I understand that I need some of those skills to do what I want to do, but I don't want to be relied upon to fix things that break just because of my wife's learned helplessness because she thinks it's my job as a man. I spend a lot of time pushing back against such expectations. Conversely, I want to cook, but my wife prefers cooking. I like cooking butter chicken far more than I like mounting televisions. But my wife has this expectation that she's supposed to cook for me and in fact takes great satisfaction from it. That's fine, but also I take great satisfaction in cooking for me too, lol. In short, for me, being a man is pushing back against expectations of being a man. In terms of being a man and seeing others as men, the internet is overrun with insecure boys masquerading as men who complain about fucking everything. These kids piss me off. Errol, I do the usual nod of acknowledgement and go on my merry way. Answer. It makes me sad that so many people still think certain roles should be done just because of gender. I'm thankful that my grandpa, who was a carpenter, locksmith, pattern maker, police dispatcher, really a jack of all trades, welcomed me to join him in his shop when I was a kid to build things alongside him. My mom, Grandma, also instilled a love of baking and being crafty artistic. I'm very lucky to have a husband that appreciates me helping out with all kinds of things around the house and yard, and he loves to cook amazing meals for our family. There have been many times that others visit our house and compliment him on something, and he proudly tells them, "My wife built that." We are both very happy with sharing all of the roles in our lives, and we know we each have our strengths and weaknesses. Story 18. Some people will tell you that having a penis is easy, but sometimes it's just hard. Story 19. It's meh, half depressing and half enlightening. Story 20. After a relationship ends, some of us go years without sex or intimacy with a woman. Story 21. Just feed me smoked meat and tell me I'm doing good for shoot lonely out here. Story 22. The cons vastly outweigh the pros. It's lonely, cold, and suffocating. No room to voice your feelings or opinions. You have to create your value because it sits at 0 in society's eyes. And that value is based on what you can provide to your loved ones and others. People treat you like fantasy monsters, and nobody checks them for that disgusting way of thinking on social media and IRL. Hell, they encourage them. I've been seeing this since I was a freshman in high school, and over time grew numb to it. But it's very disheartening because I have to navigate my younger male cousins around it so they don't become bitter and hateful. It feels like my friend group of 8 guys in our late 20s to early 30s are hanging on by a thread because we know deep down that the possibility of owning a house and having a girl who's kind to us is very slim. Some are working 2 jobs just to keep up with rent, and others are constantly looking for a different job that pays more. If I didn't have my friends, I wouldn't be here right now. And the same can be said for them. Just tired of it all. Just want to feel loved and desired. But in the same breath, I love being big, tall, strong, lifting heavy objects, building, and reaching high places for others. When something needs to get done, PPL always come to me for help. Just seeing people happy and thankful for the things I've done for them makes me feel really good. Story 23. Being a man is very emotionally numbing. Men don't get a support network like women do. Men are expected to just pull yourself up by the bootstraps or just work harder, bro. Story 24. There's this expectation to be strong all the time, not just physically, but emotionally. You're taught early that crying is weakness, that vulnerability makes you less of a man. So you bottle things up. You don't ask for help, even when you're breaking inside. You learn to stay quiet because being too emotional, too open, makes people uncomfortable. It's also lonely sometimes. As a man, people often assume you're fine even when you're not. There's less space to talk about your feelings or your struggles. Friendships can be shallow unless you really push past the surface, and even then, it's rare to find someone you can fully open up to without judgment. But there's pride too. Pride in being dependable, in being able to protect, provide, and support others. There's a quiet kind of joy in showing up for people who need you, in being the rock, the safe place. The challenge is learning to also be that for yourself, to hold space for your own pain, your own healing. Being a man isn't one thing. It's a fight between what you feel and what you're told you should feel. But I'm learning that real strength is found in honesty with yourself and others. Story 25. Feelings can't be expressed because they aren't taken as seriously as a woman's. Also recently, with the trend of not needing men, invisible. Story 26. Lots of responsibility if you do it right. Story 27. I wish I was a cat. Story 28. Some days a man just needs to play with some Legos, or get lost for hours in a video game, or just see his boys. Sometimes that feels like the bare minimum to ask for after a tough week. Story 29. I don't have a negative answer, and it looks like I'm in the minority. I love being a man. I've been blessed with incredible relationships, incredible beautiful women, great adventures, and great stories. I love being tall and strong. I love being able to eat enormous amounts of food, burp and fart in public and feel proud. I love fighting ice dragons with swords and shields, and I love life. Answer. I'm glad there's at least some men in here that see joy in what they are. Based on the comments, you'd think being a man is exclusively a bad thing, and that's just absurd. There's so much to love about being a man, so much to be grateful for, and so much to take pride in. And that is true for all people, for that matter. Life can be hard and good at the same time. There are things about being a man that suck too. But must all those things have solutions if you know where to look, how to grow, and what actually matters to you? Keep slaying those dragons, King. Story 30. It fucking sucks because everyone expects you to suck it up and deal with it on your own. As a man, you can't cry. You shouldn't ask for help too much. You should be ready to fight at any moment and with zero room to emotional growth. Most parents excuse their child's awful behavior by saying boys will be boys. But at some point, they stop being boys and become men without proper understanding of emotions, and this usually leads to either depression or ego being equal to a god. Recently, I started to go to therapy, and now I can see how I and my partners would have benefited if I was able to work on my emotions instead of bottling them. Story 31. That feelings are gendered. Sometimes I get emotional, but that doesn't mean I tap into my feminine side. Everyone has the same emotions. Liking to be held doesn't make me girly. It means I want to be held. Story 32. A pain in the balls. Story 33. Basically, you wake up, people ask you to do shoot all day, so you have to fit that in between work smokes. Story 34. We can pee standing, and people don't want to know when we're feeling bad. Also, I can't go anywhere with my young niece without someone thinking I am a pedo. There are, however, lots of benefits of living in a sexist society, which is also sad. Story 35. Pros are 1. I can lift heavier charges than most females without great effort. 2. Stand up peeing. 3. Pockets in trousers. 4. No periods every month. 5. Being attracted to girls. Cons. 1. I am classified in the same team as the men who misbehave or disrespect women. 2. Prostate cancer. 3. Dating in general. C. Point 1 of the list. 4. Can't really have a bad day or week. Just keep things inside. 5. Loneliness. Story 36. A lot harder than it looks like. Story 37. Not gonna lie, it's hard sometimes. Story 38. Well, I don't want to be here anymore, so I guess it's going about that well. Story 39. No one knows what it's like to be the sad man, to be the Batman. But for real, everyone in Gotham asks who, what, why, and where is the Batman? Never how is the Batman. That is what is like being a man. Story 40. They call me 070, text messages 0 friends made since freshman year of college. 7 days off a year. Story 41. It's calling a suicide hotline and having them hang up on you. Story 42. Sometimes you want to be stiff, but you can't. Story 43. Can't complain. Wish I had tits, though. Story 44. It has its good sides, like that we don't have periods, which I think is unfair, but I can't do anything about it. But it has its downsides, like a man will get less matches on a dating platform, for example. Story 45. The expectations from women and other men are just as ridiculous as the expectations those same people have for women. Just a different kind of ridiculous. Story 46. Suffering in silence all the time. Story 47. Not gonna lie, it was. It's fucking awesome. Story 48. I can just walk to my car at night and think of trivial shit instead of being anxious. Story 49. Not allowed to have emotions, not allowed to share how I feel, not allowed to feel emotionally validated or complete, not allowed to think, not allowed to want anything other than what women decide for me. Most men I know are exhausted from the expectations. We're fucking human beings too. In my experience, women want to take, but are completely unwilling to give anything. That goes for most friends' spouses as well, not just myself. Story 50. High highs and low lows. Story 51. Painful, lonely. Every day is a brand new battle, and every day of your life will be a battle against the world around you. There's nobody to help you. No social safety nets, no nothing. Story 52. I do whatever I want and don't follow social norms. Story 53. I'm a white middle-aged man. I am part of the most privileged demographic in terms of not being discriminated against and have it pretty easy compared to a lot of other people. Men have historically had numerous advantages in society over women. Fortunately, things are better for women now than they were just a few decades ago. Having said all that, there are some expectations that society places on men that have bad consequences. Brené Brown writes and talks a lot about vulnerability and its importance in personal growth. She has made a lot of observations about how men are not really allowed to be truly vulnerable in society, in their relationships with women and also other men. This is really the toughest part about being male, and I believe that it's really at the core of some of the problems that we see in men today. Story 54. You either do better than your father did or you're an absolute failure. Story 55. For me, extremely lonely. No one cares about you unless you can see status in some way. You feel lucky if people aren't outright rude to you or glare at you with suspicion. It's impossible to meet a romantic partner. Story 56. Most of the time, it's great. However, it's hard AF when we're struggling mentally because society seems to think, as men, we just need to toughen up and everything will be okay. Story 57. Being white, cis, not totally unfortunate, and straight passing, it doesn't suck mostly. The country is made for people that look like me. I can be pretty confident that wherever I am, I belong there. Even if you're fully aware of all these things, you still benefit from the privilege. If I have an issue, people listen. If I go to the doctor, that practitioner has been trained on how to care for my body specifically. If I'm in a car accident, the restraints and safety physics were designed for me. Offices are heated and cooled to my comfort. If I complain, I get what I want and probably some free stuff. I'm also so lonely I want to end it all some days. The question isn't how it is being a man. The question is, how do men use their inherent privilege to bring equity to the world? Story 58. I want to change the world while also wanting to eat 20 tacos at any given time. Story 59. This is a strange question. I actually never experienced being in a body and mind of another person, so it's my only view of the world. So it feels like normal EEE. Story 60. We must swift as the coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon. Story 61. Work in a female-dominant field and then you get to find out just how little your feelings matter. Story 62. Well, let me see. You're assumed to be dangerous if you're not dangerous. You're weak if you're weak. You're not worth anything. So to be accepted, you need to be dangerous. But if you're dangerous, nobody wants you around. If you make your own way, you're not confident. You're arrogant. So fudge society, I got bills to pay. Story 63. Don't know otherwise, not being flippant. Story 64. It's pretty good if you do it right. Story 65. The best part of being man is being able to say yeah and man. Story 66. It is what it is. Story 67. It is what it is. Story 68. To accept the situation and move silently. Story 69. It sucks, especially if you're in a be a man environment. Everything is your responsibility because you're a man, and everything is your fault because you're a man. If you do something right, you don't get any recognition because you finally acted like a man. Story 70. Dax to be a man original. Dax to be a man remake like this. Story 71. Sometimes leg hair gets caught in the foreskin. Story 72. Being a man is, even if I don't know how to do something, I still kind of know how to do it. It makes no sense, but nothing is off the table. Ever. And that's cool. Story 73. When it snows, we can write stuff with our P. Story 74. It's pretty great. We have to do some difficult things, but we can do those things. And when we do them to take care of our wife and kids, it feels terrific. Story 75. Amazing, more tough than we talk about. Story 76. There is a small joy in being able to open my own pickle jars. Story 77. The best part of being a man for me is being a father. Having this little person that holds a mirror up to my own childhood, showing me what I was like before I made my first memories. Being a man for me involves being a good partner and a good role model. I think I'm happy in life because I'm incredibly blessed, and my perspective is one of gratitude and immense wonder. There's always something on the horizon to uncover, something new to learn, and that challenge is worthwhile to me rather than oppressive. Story 78. As an average-looking guy typically needing to pursue partners instead of being pursued, men on average are physically stronger and taller, so jobs that require us to lift more or apply more force or reach higher places are slightly easier for us. i.e., menial labor jobs. I find being a dishwasher easier than the little old lady I work with. I'd imagine we don't have to worry about getting pregnant, so sex is slightly more stress-free for us. We don't have periods, which means being sexually comfortable more often as well. We don't have menopause, which combined with the periods, typically means we have less fluctuation in hormone levels. Although there's research to show men have periods of hormone fluctuations as well, very similar to women. This is the one I stand being the least because of my lack of knowledge. I've never been uncomfortable walking by myself to my car at any time of day or night, as long as there isn't more than 2 guys approaching me, with both being relatively big guys since I'm 6'6" and relatively comfortable with defending myself. As a woman, I'd imagine you always have to be on guard for any individual that approaches. Also, our society still leans pretty noticeably to the patriarchy, so things like job advancement or job security or comfort in the workplace, I feel may be different for me than for a woman. Like maybe a woman in my role would be judged more for their mistakes than I would. Story 79. Imagine having to know what to do about any and every situation that comes up, and if you don't, then you're a piece of shoot. Story 80. I can walk into a forest in the middle of the night to hang with a complete stranger I met online not 2 days prior, smoke a spliff together, chat about life, and then both walk to our respective homes, having enjoyed the evening. Not saying women can't do this, but the fact I will at no point feel in immediate danger is a privilege my female friends opened my eyes to a few years ago now. Story 81. Having to keep most of your real thoughts and feelings bottled up. Story 82. Shut up. No one cares about you. Your problems are your own fault. Do more work. Now you know. Story 83. You get a barrage of boners all of the time when you least expect it at the most inconvenient times. Story 84. I couldn't tell you because I've only ever been a man. Story 85. I'm a homosexual, so I guess I have a different perspective. If you have a limp wrist, you better learn how to take it off because society at large, especially at a young age, will not take you seriously. You will be othered. The only benefit it has when it comes to women is that they will at least pretend to be your friend. If you're a gay man, you best suppress your feminine mannerisms by masking it because you won't get that fancy promotion or that raise because you will not be viewed as one of the boys. Essentially, you face sexism on both sides of the aisle. Story 86. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shoot. Story 87. I ate a bunch before bed and pooped like 4 times last night. I couldn't believe I pooped so much. Story 88. You know that part in Godzilla -1 where friends and strangers alike are mad the main character didn't kill himself? Kinda like that. Story 89. I'm a man, I'm 40. Story 90. It's really hard until about 60, then you wish it was hard. Story 91. Pros pee anywhere? Don't get periods or pregnant? Non-prefer to dress as nice or wear makeup, though everyone should groom. Generally don't have to worry about walking alone. Cons, you're lucky if you get a compliment once in a blue moon. That isn't from you, mom or partner. Almost always have to make the first move. If you're short, then you need to have great game. Story 92. You're considered a threat first. Story 93. Isolating, it gets worse as you get older. Story 94. I'm 29 and I low-key still want the toys I wanted when I was 6. Story 95. No one gives a shoot about men. He is only valued by the utility he provides. A man gives his love and his very life to those who will use him and discard him without care nor remorse. The entire world is full of broken men from whom women took everything. A man will never be enough, and he knows it. Story 96. Can you lift this even though I know your back is bad? Why aren't you smiling? Can you fix this even though you said you don't know what this is? Can you do this for me? All men are trash. Can you throw this away for me? Men are so dumb. Can paper be recycled? This is just my workplace. LMAEU. Story 97. A weird combination of standing up to pee and shaving my face, along with stop being a wuss and a bit of toxic masculinity and provider and protector thrown in. But as others have said, nobody really gives a darn unless they want need of you. And don't ever admit you're struggling, especially with mental health. Story 98. There's nothing like making some really good guy friends and those friends turning into brothers over the years. Something about being a laid-back guy sipping a beer with a bunch of other laid-back guys sipping beer. Story 99. It feels like a time bomb, ready to go off. Any disrespect invokes a tribal urge to remove the threat. It feels like a straitjacket, yet I also feel that anything is possible if I really put my soul into it. The sexual urge is overwhelming, yet I must be constrained and nonchalant about it. I can give life, and I can take it, but I choose altruism until somebody fucks with me. And then I resist murder. So far, so good, but the day ain't over yet. Story 100. It's hard sometimes and has its ups and downs. Story 101. It's like being mop or any other tool. We are only remembered when someone has a use for a tool. Story 102. Grinding in life physically, oscillating between horny and lonely mentally. Story 103. Generally pretty good. My pay is 27 higher. Some people listen to me better simply because I'm a man. I can pee in a lot more places. No periods, but I won't live as long. Story 104. On the minus side, you're expected to know about everything, handle everything, pay for everything, support everyone. Man up, keep going. Oh, almost forgot, while you're doing all of those things, you're not allowed to complain, and you might only hear a compliment once a decade or so. On the plus side, the world is your urinal. Story 105. It's okay. Dating is worse by far, however, there are some good things. Story 106. Sucks ass, honestly. People always resort to the non-stop apex fallacy that being a guy is so great. Yeah, sure, if you're the top of the top, handsome, rich, status, and all of that jazz. Most guys aren't anywhere close to the apex. There is a reason many guys are lonely or are constantly at risk of being homeless after a few bad months. Get shoot on all of the time, get called this or that, and so forth. It's exhausting. But don't worry, society will keep telling you how great being a guy is. But again, apex fallacy. If you're at the top of the top, sure, life is good up there, but not for the average guy who is just trying to scrape by some semblance of decency. Story 107. Go to work, be tired, have internal emotional issues, and nobody gives a hot darn. Not that I expect them to, but still. Story 108. For a lot of my life, it was no one checking on me or caring about me or what I did. Women seem to get a lot more support and a lot more people caring about their safety and happiness and all of that. There's a lot of dudes out there that the world couldn't care about any less. It can also be very confusing trying to figure out what a man is supposed to do in the modern world. You want to be a ladies' man, but not get canceled or be creepy, while also being educated, rich, jacked, etc. I think men need a lot more support. Just look at suicide rates. Story 109. Pissing is basically JS playing with a water gun for us. Story 110. Notice the difference between be a man and am just a girl. Story 111. If I'm not useful, I'm a burden. That's all you get as a man. Story 112. Watch Bill Burr, he will tell you. Story 113. Imagine carrying an immense weight society tells you that you have to provide. Some women will call you a racist, bigot, no matter who you are, but they also expect you to the provider. You cannot cry because the oppressed, sexist, macho idea says crying is gay, and you must bottle up your feelings until you become the biggest threat. A homegrown terrorist, the manliest shoot a macho man can be, a danger to society. You cannot express yourself. You must be stoic, but cool. You must get women, but never get too attached to them. You must watch sports, do some kind of hobby, and know shitloads of politics. And you better not be scrawny. The manliest, straightest thing you can be, in the eyes of a manly man, is a dude of 6'3" with big muscles and a beard and a full head of hair. This man is flawless and is always virile. Remember that there is nothing gayer than erectile dysfunction. Yeah, fudge all that, be a person. That's all you need to be. Story 114. Horny 90 of the time. Story 115. You are considered to be disposable and typically viewed with suspicion. No one cares what happens to you or how you are doing other than maybe a few close friends and family members. People only care about you on the condition you are providing some sort of service or duty, which definitely includes your romantic partner. Story 116. It sucks, just not as bad as being a woman. I'm definitely glad I'm not a woman because they put up with a lot more shit in their lives, from periods to perverts. But women should know that men's lives aren't exactly rainbows and sunshine either. Story 117. Not as bad as people on here make it out to be. Story 118. I don't mean any disrespect, but this is a genuine question. I would like to know what it feels like to have all that junk between your legs. Sorry to use slang, I figured it was less trouble with bots. Don't worry, I love that junk. I've always wondered what it felt like. Does it move around? What's it feel like to have an erection? Answer. It's in the way and sometimes sticks to your legs or to the underwear. Erection depends on the amount and type of clothing and what caused the erection. If you're asking about what it feels like in general, it's sort of like some kind of throbbing. Like if you touch a vein and you feel it every time it pumps. That, but a lot larger. As a teenager, you get random erections for no reason at all. Those are annoying. Morning wood is real, but goes away quick, especially if you need to pee, so it's just there. If there is a cause for the erection, then the cause precedes everything else, and you don't worry about erection being annoying. If you have no clothing, you usually plan to do something with the erection. At that point, you don't worry about it and are mostly happy that you have one. If you have comfortable clothing, you sometimes need to adjust the clothing so that the erection fits in there. If you have jeans, it's like you have a snake trying to get out of your pants. And it is kinda annoying. Sometimes you need to adjust it a little so that it doesn't get too uncomfortable. Story 119. Nothing is free for a man. Absolutely nothing. Story 120. Pros. Western society often favors men in terms of acquisition of wealth and power. Cons. My balls to stick to my legs in the summer, and having a hairy ass makes cleaning a bigger pain in the ass. Story 121. Being able to masturbate without sound is so great. Story 122. It's a thankless job. A lot is expected, but you never get noticed until you don't do something. It's pretty lonely as well. Few will ask how you're doing unless you're having a noticeable crisis. Story 123. I'm sure the grass seems greener on the other side for either, but I don't hear about many adult virgins that are women. Story 124. Constant competition in various aspects of life, and if men are ugly and are financially unsuccessful, there is a social coldness towards these men that women don't experience on that level and just can't understand. Story 125. I can only speak for myself. The best way I can describe being a man is that it's lonely. A lot of the men in my family come across emotionless or just stuck in a situation that they either can't get out of or are suffering in. Men suffer in relationships and marriages too. We're not allowed to have a range of emotions. I was always told not to laugh too much, not to make friends with girls, don't cry, people will think you are crazy, etc. Being a man is lonely. Of course, there are upsides. Story 126. Silence you keep to yourself, even your problems, your fears, and your demons. Story 127. You want friends? Tough shoot. Figure it out. You need a break? Tough shoot. Figure it out. You don't know how to fix that thing? Tough shoot. Figure it out. You injured? Tough shoot. Figure it out. You have an opinion? Tough shoot. Figure it out. Edit. I doubt men are down voting. This is such a universal experience. Story 128. It's pretty easy TBH, and most of the posts in here saying otherwise are just describing the human condition. Story 129. A lot of the responses here, except those related to genitals, could fit either men of women. Some of the top comments, the hardest part is having women think that all men are the same. You aren't allowed to have a bad day, lonely, a lot harder than it looks like. Story 130. The good, all the privilege, the bad, societal expectations, specifically from other men. Story 131. 510, some days are pretty tight though. Story 132. The mean girls will somehow always treat you nice. Is like a switch apparently. Story 133. Fun if you know how. Story 134. It's like having elephant face between your legs. Story 135. TBH, I can barely manage. Story 136. Well, sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes being dead doesn't sound so bad, but I've heard this is normal. Story 137. People expect you to fix everything. Story 138. Mixed bag, mostly okay, could be better. Assume it's like that for women too. Story 139. Well, you're not able to grow up hot and yourself a wealthy husband to take care of you for the rest of your life. Story 140. Limited compliments and physical touch. It's rare people offer either, and culturally in America, men don't typically compliment or hug other men, and women often are cautious about being misunderstood if they offer either. Since being widowed, the most hugs and hand-holding I got was the 2 years I had a girlfriend. Before and since, maybe 2 or 3 hugs a month, in a good month. More if I see my grandkids. Story 141. Being a father and getting ready for Easter, my wife and I tend to do things for each other. She said she hadn't had time to get me an outfit, which we normally do each year. I told her I didn't mind, and her response was, "Why do you have to always get the short end of the stick?" This is basically what it's like to be a father in general from my POV, but also a man in general. I am usually willing to let others go before myself, or take less for myself so others have what they need want. Story 142. It's cool. I'd re-up every new karmic cycle. It's only awesome to be a man once you figure out not to give a shoot what others think or feel like you have to act a certain way, and that the pillars of true strength are raising people up, empathy, and kindness. Story 143. You can't allow yourself to be vulnerable in front of other people, particularly women. You're sick? Better keep it to yourself. You're grieving? Keep it to yourself. Had a bad day at the office? Keep it to yourself. It's also hilarious how the same people who are condescending towards men being vulnerable are the same ones throwing stones at them for being insensitive or emotionally numb. You also expected to be good at things, and people tend to be less forgiving if you make rookie mistakes when you're starting something new, especially after your mid-20s. You're expected to be good at DIY, a good mechanic, a good provider, a good husband, a good lover. And by good, I mean above average. And if you have a random slip-up, then oops, you get chastised and people lose respect for you. Have I mentioned the amount of things men can't change about themselves, such as mental and physical conditions, height, family, etc., that we're not actively encouraged to accept as an unfortunate but realistic part of our lives, yet we get bullied and humiliated for them instead? And when we complain we're suddenly told to man up or just be confident. Sorry for the rant. I tend to fixate on the negative stuff because most women think being a man somehow means that you won at life or that you're somehow privileged. Don't even get me started on the military draft. Life's not just cupcakes and rainbows. Story 144. I have no comparison for context, but from my experience, it's okay. Things I like. Women tend to like me, and I love women, both in platonic and sexually. Women are just the best. Being strong and being able to help others, it's so rewarding. Being tall, I know women can be tall and strong too, but men are more likely to be taller and stronger. I like to reach things from shelves for people. I'm 6'3" and still need tippy toes sometimes, teaching others, especially young folk. Again, everything listed here spans the sexes, but I like teaching fellas things like basic DIY, car stuff, football, etc. Things I don't like. Other men seem threatened by me sometimes, resulting in confrontation. Was regularly labeled homophobic slurs on nights put because I dressed well and had a good physique. People are afraid of me sometimes. I look intimidating not because I'm big enough, but due to sinus problems, I have a perpetual frown. I'm actually happy. People looking scared, particularly women, on the street in the dark. I dislike that people feel vulnerable when out walking and minding their own business. I am sensitive to passing people on a dark street and seeing how nervous they are. I try to wear bright clothing on evening walks and give a soft hello. Probably sounds creepy. Women that are too forward. I was regularly sexually assaulted and harassed by marauding groups of women. Luckily, I haven't suffered physically or mentally, but it did have a negative impact on me. I'm in my 40s now and it's not a problem anymore. In my early 20s to early 30s, groping was a common occurrence and unwelcome sexual remarks. I once actually ran from a beautiful middle-aged woman in broad daylight. I think she was in heat. I was wearing a tailored suit and on my way to a wedding. Probably never looked as good in my life. Long time ago. Story 145. This song comes up to me. Dax, to be a man. Story 146. My balls stick to my leg a lot. Story 147. A lot of pros cons for sure. Anything laborious and/or needs fixing, you're up. There's also a weird paradox with emotions. This goes with many types of relationships, especially romantic. Your significant other wants you to show more emotions, but simultaneously you are supposed to suppress them. However, I can grow one heck of a beard. Story 148. A lot of burdens and responsibilities. It's fine for me. I got used to it. You just have to focus on the positives. Story 149. What do I compare it to? I've only ever been me. Story 150. It's hard to say because it's the only life I've ever known. People have reacted to and anticipated my behavior based on my identity in ways that neither of us are even aware of. I think probably the hardest thing I see is having your value as a person being inexorably linked with your abilities as a provider. Men might date down in terms of career, but a woman will rarely date a man who isn't bringing as much or more to the table, career-wise, as she is. I think it's harder to see the good parts of being a man as a man. Everyone carries a bias that their success is due to merit, not skill. I had a rough childhood, but I was able to jumpstart my life by going in the military. That wouldn't be as realistic of an option if I were a woman. Then I went to engineering school where nobody cared about my gender because I was the expected gender. Would that have been different had I been a woman? Anyway, this is my experience and Women V. Story 151. Pretty shitty, honestly. I envy women for being able to more freely express themselves and for having better genuine friendships where they feel comfortable sharing feelings, showing love. There is such a tight mold to fit as a man. Story 152. Pretty neat, all things considered. If you take care of yourself and make not stupid choices, you're going to be fine. Story 153. It's okay. We're mainly judged for our capacity to provide and protect, both things most of us like to do. Genitals are easy to keep up with. Peeing while standing is surely a welcome bonus, although it's terrible pain if you end up sitting on your own balls. Hairs grow thick and full everywhere I wish it didn't, and not where I wish it did. Story 154. Women are, men become. Story 155. Despite all the sad boys here, it rules. Most of the time, people will listen to whatever you have to say. If I'm better than other people at stuff, it gets recognized. Zero fear of doing stuff solo or at night, and personally, I never found dating that hard. In short, it's great because things work the way they're supposedly supposed to. Story 156. BVB, I also struggle with the same outlook on my strengths as a woman able to do masculine things. For me, the respect I get from my son is most important. Second, getting called a dick in the shop means I've been accepted anyways. Story 157. If you accept your inner child, you are a freak of nature who should go back into mama's basement. That is how I have felt, at least. I can be pretty silly at times, and I used to be super self-conscious because of it. Also, physical touch is a fine way to show that you care for someone, and it doesn't have to be in a romantic way. Men can hug too. I love hugging my parents, and I do so all the time. Story 158. Honestly, same as being a woman 99 of the time. Story 159. Couldn't have said it better myself, friend. Story 160. Nobody gives a fudge about you while expecting you to provide. Story 161. I took my wife and kids out to a fancy restaurant for Mother's Day. Everybody was dressed nice, great food, etc. We're casually talking to the table next to us, and the guy says we're having hot dogs for Father's Day. To that sums up it up, LOL. Story 162. They pretend to care when they need your labor. Story 163. The only time anyone cares about what you are doing as a man is if you are interacting with a woman. LO. Story 164. That's not true. When the rich people decide to start a war, they totally want us men. I mean, not us individually, just a quantity of us. Story 165. Greatest and worst part about being a dude. Story 166. Mostly true, however, sometimes people dislike you too. Story 167. Unless you have the slightest amount of money ready to be scammed in your pocket, there, I fixed it for you. Story 168. Be a boy in a man's body, and the world laughs with you, but be a man in a boy's body and you will go to prison. Story 169. You're gonna cause him to catch a charge, dude. Story 170. Be careful if the man wants to reverse roles after. Story 171. Yeah, bro, I'm pretending to be a mature man in a man's body. Story 172. I'm just a poor boy. Nobody loves me. Story 173. I really feel this, and I'm somehow tired of pretending I'm not. All the adulting and responsibilities and role-played toughness just to get a sliver of relaxing time as my true vulnerable me. Hugging teddies, playing with my girlfriend and friends, indulging in silly hobbies. Story 174. I will tell I am 25, I think like 18 IR, old ANC act like that. Everyone tell me you're so immature. I don't know why I am like that. I hardly trying to change, even I look like teenager. Story 175. We're men. The world is our bathroom. Story 176. Rural farmer here, the last pee of the day with my dog out back neath the still night sky. Story 177. I don't know. My ex-GF had no issues pissing in obfuscated public places when she had to. She often wore skirts, which made it easy to squat and go. On the highway, pull over, angle the car, open the door, then get out and squat. In a public area and no restroom nearby, she'd go behind a bush or in an alley. She would find a spot, that's for sure. I thought it was funny and hot in a public exhibition way. Absolutely no qualms. Story 178. The problem is, there's more shoot days than not so much shoot days, lol. Story 179. The worst of it for me is feeling alone even when surrounded by people. The struggle is real. Story 180. Couldn't agree more, brother, we're in this together. Story 181. I randomly decided to look at my Xbox friend list the other night, and holy shoot, it almost made me cry. Seeing so many gamer tags that had not been online for years. People who I always played with, just never online anymore. So many good memories flooded into my head like the doors opening in The Shining. Story 182. All the other Viltrumites are scared of me. Noon talks to me. Noon wants to be my friend. They think I am unstable. They send me from planet to planet, committing atrocities in their name. And as I get better at it, they fear me more and more. I am a victim of my own success. Conquest. I don't even get a real name, only a purpose. I am capable of so much more, and Noon sees it. Some days I feel so alone I could cry. But I don't. I never do. Because what would be the point? Not a single person in the entire universe would care. Take it to your grave. Story 183. That's why the occasional boys' night is so important. Nothing cheers me up quite like getting together with my friends and just hanging out. It's tough, though, now that we're older and have jobs and responsibilities, so I try and really take it in whenever it happens. Story 184. I sometimes take the day off work and don't tell my wife so I can spend the day doing what I want to do. If I tell her, she'll give me a list of shoots she wants done around the house or some errands to run, and that's not how I want to spend my vacation leave. So I get up, act like I'm going to work, and when she leaves, I just do my stuff. Story 185. Men are basically disposable, and I don't pay much attention to people who criticize men. They'll let me know when they need something, usually money. I try to be cordial, but pretty much walk away and don't share much since they don't really care. I don't take too many people seriously either. The world mostly isn't interested in other people's problems. You have to be your own man. Lucky I married a quality gal because most women aren't worth dating. I own my own business and do well. Employers will mostly grind you into dust, so I'll never be an employee again. Story 186. I wish this wasn't true, but it is. Men's mental health is a thing in principle, but heaven forbid you experience problems and try and vocalize them. Story 187. To top this off, injured, sick, suck it up. Be a man. No matter how your last relationship ended, it collapsed because of you, and everyone knows you're a monster. The list literally goes on edit. Uh-oh, boys. I've pissed off the women folk. Whatever shall I do? Answer. Also, everybody will be focused on what the top rung of industry in the society gets and say it's unfair that men are running the world, ignoring that most men are just normal people and occupy the bottom rungs too. We are told to carry the collective guilt of our gender for stupid shoot, called out for dude bro behavior we don't even engage in, and there is just general antipathy. Women get it too, no doubt, in their own ways. But after a lifetime of being told how men are the villains, even for stuff they didn't do, they get tired, worn down, and bitter. People who perpetuate gender wars have no interest in trying to make things equal. They just want other people to feel worse. It's a shame because we have the tools for a more equal society, but some things will always stand as natural impediments. Women losing time from work for kids, physical differences, psychological differences. But we are generally economically and technically advanced enough to minimize the harm. That doesn't stop people from trying to further divide us, which in turn pushes people into the arms of more hostile camps because they feel they might as well embrace the Andrew Tates of the world if they are going to be villainized. Story 188. Bill Burr sums it up. Story 189. Same thing with depression, mental illness. What do you mean you're depressed? You have no reason to be depressed. Story 190. Hadn't experienced this in a while, but I recently started talking to someone. I was having a bad day. So when she came over, I gave her a heads up. I'm feeling irritable. Her response, "You sound like a girl." Ended it 3 weeks later for a variety of similar reasons. Story 191. Anytime I've opened up, it's come back to bite me hard. And the more closed off I am, the more people resent it. Answer this. A couple of months ago, I got sick and took 2 days off work to recover. Mind you, I have worked just hours after having a kidney stone, foot surgery, and an endoscopy, among other things. But I took 2 days off. My spouse threw it back in my face a couple weeks ago in an argument about how I took time off work when I was sick and she didn't have to when she got it. Never mind the fact that I still all my other parenting duties and drove everyone around when I was sick. But when she got the virus, I cooked everyone dinner, took care of the kids, etc. because I was recovered and I knew how much that virus sucked. But yeah, it was my fault for taking 2 days off. That made me lazy. Just suck it up next time. Story 192. I dislike how true this is. Just pulled my lower back really badly. Was still expected to go out for Mother's Day dinner. No mercy, no empathy, no understanding. Just a "your injury better not ruin my day" attitude, and that's about as good as you can expect to get. Can't help but feel like I would be accused of being a heartless abuser if the roles were reversed. Answer. I had a 34 Clydesdale cross stomp on my foot recently, and I think something is fractured in there. I thought maybe a surgery for another horse would get postponed because I'm the only person able-bodied enough to jog him twice a day as part of his recovery. Nope, I still have to run him for 20 minutes a day on my injured foot with all the other farm chores I was already struggling to get done with my hobbling around, in addition to other jobs that have to be done during this seasonal window. Nobody believes I'm actually hurt, or at best they believe me, but think I'm being a baby about it. I get eye rolls and smirks when I have the temerity to ice it during the day. Story 193, or maybe express anger over it. Anger conforms with male stereotyping. Nobody ever called an angry man effeminate. It will be used to justify prejudice, however. It's a catch-22. Story 194. I made the mistake of trying to open up to a female friend about feeling lonely and trying to pull myself together more and think it just made it worse. She listened and gave some decent advice in the moment, but has not said a word back to me since. Just the same old shoot even in my 30s as it's always been. You get told to open up more, assured they won't look at you any different, but it's the same result every time. Instead of them wondering if you're a weak loser, all it does is confirm it, and they never look at you the same again. Every fucking time. Story 195. LOL can so relate. 2-ish years of knowing each other. I said for the first time that I was on the verge of a mental breakdown, and I wanted my life to end. Had a major argument after, when I reached out for validation and reassurance. She said she thought I was joking when I wanted to end my life. Never have I ever joked about it either, and I'm doing better. That feeling was just a culmination of things going on that capitulated into that terrible feeling, in case anyone is reading this. Story 196. Too real with this comment. Story 197. Where do you live? Just to compare, because I'm from Italy, and here the situation is not this bad. Of course, you are still expected to be generally tough, but nothing extreme. Story 198. I don't know if it was my environment or my hormones, but I don't like sharing my feelings. It makes me feel icky. If you can't solve your own problems, nobody's going to do it for you, which is a problem for a lot of women I know. Why the fudge would I want to open up about them? It does nothing except creates a victimization of myself. I have no time for that. You know what makes me feel better? Accomplishing things, getting up, going to the gym, working on my classic Bronco, getting R done. I mean, if you have severe trauma from something, Take your time and get over it. Talk to someone if you have to. But what am I going to complain about today? I got a mustard stain on my shirt at lunchtime and no one was there to console me? GTFOH. Story 199. My solution. Dislike everything and isolate myself. Works like a charm. Story 200. People do let me open their jars and I also close them too tight. Everything in balance. Story 201. And reaching things on the top shelf. Story 202. Upside, as you get older, you stop giving a shoot what society thinks and it rules. I don't envy young men who haven't clocked. It's fine to sit in your underwear and paint Warhammer, because nobody can judge you but you. Story 203. I'm seeing a lot more depictions of dudes that seem healthier. Between Ted Lasso and shrinking, not a coincidence that they're made by the same people, I've become more okay with, say, talking to other people about emotional issues. Hell, having emotional issues at all. Story 204. I feel this deeply for men. I am not one. Story 205. Failure is not an option. Story 206. What's worse is that society can't make up its fucking mind about what masculinity should be. They need you to be strong, fearless, work hard, break your body, be assertive, provide. You can't be a pushover. You got to fight for your life. But then they tell you that you have to be docile. You have to be real with your feelings. You need to be feminine in order to be a real man. You have to be submissive and calm. Women want you to open up, to be vulnerable, but a vulnerable man will be dropped by a woman for a closed-off brute. You need to be career-focused, but you can't love your work. The contradictions of male expectation go on and on. Story 207. This 100. There is no in-between. The men in my family like cigars and golf. The men in my wife's family like riding dirt bikes and shooting guns. I have no qualms with either, but they aren't my thing. And here I am on the sidelines because I don't naturally fall into these macho categories. And oh, don't get me started about the expectations on hitching towing trailers, doing at home electrical work and the like. Can I figure these things out and do them as needed? Yes. But because I'm not naturally tearing things apart like I'm Tim, the toolman tailor, I am meant to feel like I am somehow less than. Story 208. I'm a woman and I agree with this. There are a ton of women out there that get men really wrong, and I dislike it for both sides. Glad you said it. Answer. So I was just having this conversation with my friend yesterday. She says she wants guys to approach her at bars, but she knows they're afraid. And I want to approach girls at bars, but I'm afraid. Been burned so many times. This disconnect didn't used to exist as much as it does, and it's a sign of something deeply wrong with our society. We literally want to talk to each other, but we have created a society that tells men to be afraid to talk to women and tells women to be afraid of men talking to them. Story 209. There's even an internet thing about how we can't even say anything like this. We're told that it's okay for us to be in touch with our emotions, that it's okay to share our feelings and be vulnerable. But then when a man says that not all men are bad, we get slammed. Yes, of course, we're aware that misogyny is a major thing. We know that women are objectified, harassed, and much, much worse, and we dislike it. We want things to change. We don't want to hurt women. But when one of us says that we're different, and we get attacked over it, over 75 of suicides are men, just saying. Story 210. Yeah, I can agree with that. Seems like just trying to strengthen the all men are trash hypothesis. Also seems like what I do to make a living is infinitely more important to my identity than, who I am as a person. Story 211. But for me, the hardest part is having women think that all men are the same. It's funny how often I end up in places like Raksha Lesbians, where lesbian women recommend the very same lesbian porn that I, a man, enjoy, and refer to bad lesbian porn as what men watch. Itlowal. Story 212. The worst scenarios are women who marry men hoping they can change them. That's where you get disastrous 30-year marriages. Story 213. I'm still trying to get rid of this delusion that women see me as a threat before a stranger. It's the guilty until proven innocent attitude that keeps me from ever trying to date. Story 214. Yup, and some women seem to think every man is like the loud minority of single men who are obnoxious and rude. Story 215. Or that you're somehow supposed to not be offended by the generalization. Hearing God all men suck and following it up with, oh, I don't mean you, you're a good one, doesn't negate your first statement. Story 216. And God forbid a man have his own unique characteristics or quirks. Story 217. I'm a woman. I don't really think any intelligent person think all men are the same or all women are the same. People who talks like that are pretty stupid. Story 218. Amen. I'm not a man, but just as a lot of men see women, the same women do this to men a lot, where both genders have their characteristics that are similar. Every man is a different and unique human being, a lot of them very caring and gentle. The men I find myself drawn to are tough and self-guarded with the sweetest soft center, like a Cadbury egg. My son, for one, is mild-mannered, aloof, and not physically strong, but smart as hell and loyal. As a woman who spent 99 of her life hauling big loads with men in factories. You are right. I personally find men easier to relate to and am always kind of sad when they feel my female body means I'll be too sensitive to their thoughts and actions, but I can see the purpose behind it.